Hey y'all, I'm Romania and welcome to My Story for His Glory. I believe that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. I want you to understand that that thing that you went through, that thing that you survived, is going to be the strength that a person next to you needs to make it through. So if you want to share your story, I need for you to contact us at 757-339-0372. Your story is worth being heard, and it's actually someone else's deliverance. Real life meets real deliverance on My Story for His Glory. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in on tonight. I'm Romania from Bountiful Blessings Ministries, where our pastors are Brian and Darrell Johnson. Welcome to My Story for His Glory. Hallelujah. 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 Y'all, we have something lined up special for you on tonight. When fathers drop sons, I have Bishop Charles Matthews in the house. Come on, give him a round of applause. Oh my goodness, and none other, my pastor, Brian Keith Johnson in the house. Yes. I am so excited about tonight, guys. When fathers drop sons is the title on tonight. So I want to make sure that you guys are sharing, this broadcast, that you comment, that you ask your questions so that we can get those things answered for you on tonight. Because you know what? One thing about this particular show is what I found out is either you are one, you're married to one, dating one, or you're raising one, a fatherless son. Okay? It's an epidemic. Truly it is. And so make sure that you share it. You put your comments out there so somebody hears something on tonight that's going to set them free. Okay? All right. So we're going to go ahead and go into prayer. Lord God, in the name of Jesus, God, we give you praise and honor on tonight. Yes. God, we ask, oh God, that you would come in this place, oh God. God, every word spoken, oh God, allow it, oh God, to hit people right where they need to be hit, oh God. Yes. To break the chains, oh God, to cause the shackles to fall off, oh God, that your people will be set free, that we won't be the same after tonight. Yes. We thank you for your healing even now, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Y'all. Oh my goodness. It says 1 out of 3 children are fatherless children. They're not living with their biological. Somebody else is raising them, or maybe there's no father role model at all for them. Y'all, and in my research, I found out I just was like, matter of fact, I called Bishop and I was like, I just hope that these stats are not accurate, because I just couldn't believe how high the numbers were. And let me just give you a couple of them. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes.
That's right.
90% of all homeless and runaway children, fatherless homes. 85% of all that show behavior disorders, fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts, fatherless homes. Now that's just a few, okay? But I just want you to be aware of how important tonight's broadcast is. If you know someone that has an issue with losing their father, whether it was that he was in the home and he left, whether he was never there, whether maybe it was death, I don't know. But there's so many out there that are hurting and they need to hear this word on tonight. Okay, these two phenomenal men of God lived through it. Okay, they come out of fatherless homes. And so I'm going to turn it over to Bishop Matthews. Bishop Matthews, on Father's Day, he preached a sermon, y'all, when fathers drop sons. Bishop, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, praise God. Well, first of all, I thank God for your program. God bless you, spiders. Pleasure to be on with my dear friend, Brother Brian Johnson.
Yes,
Pastor, God bless you so much. Yes, the Lord gave me this word this year in terms of fathers drop sons, because it came from a place in me that was actually a hole in me. And so my story is real direct. You know, I was told by family members that my father left. Somebody said he left when I was 2. Some people said he left when I was born. But growing up where I grew up at, here downtown Portsmouth, okay, the place in my mind that I arrived at as I began to come up is what was wrong with me. Okay, a lot of people ask that question. A lot of men ask that question. What's wrong with me? How come my siblings can know who their father is, and I don't know where my father is? Why did he feel the need to leave when I was born? And those kind of questions, I believe, empowered the lifestyle that I began to live. That sent me into a crazy spiral. Living in the street, selling drugs, just acting complete crazy because I felt the need to be accepted somewhere. Okay, and although there was a stepfather, and I thank God for him. He's watching. God bless you, Pop. You know, he's a good man, and I thank God for him. But it wasn't the same as knowing that my father left. He was there before I was born. Okay, but when I was born, he left. That put something inside of me to wonder what's wrong with me. Searching for that fatherly influence in all the wrong places. And so I was sharing with you on one occasion that I believe that before you give your heart to Christ, that your gift will some kind of way be twisted the wrong way. And so I'm a pastor now, of course, as you know, and there's an anointing for me to attract people, but it was different before I gave my heart to Christ. I was attracting all the wrong people.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And so, and leading some of the wrong people. And so getting in trouble and really trying to find a way to fill that void. But in the process of me filling that void, I was living a destructive life. And just being in a place where I know that I will survive without God.
Wow. You know what? I want you to tell the people, because I want you guys to really get a glimpse. I mean, we see Bishop Matthews, the man now, but I want you just to get a little bit more on Charles Matthews, who he was before Christ. Tell me about, you told me about there was an incident that happened and it involved your wife. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, those of you who know my beautiful wife, Pastor Catherine Matthews.
Hey, Pastor Kathy.
Yeah. God bless you, baby. She's a good woman of God. Yeah. Great woman of God. And we were high school sweethearts, as I shared. And back in those days, I was just doing my thing, trying to be a woman. I was trying to hold on to her because I know she was precious. And all you men out there who feel like you being a playboy, I'm going to tell you something. If you got something good, you need to hold on to it. Stop your foolishness, okay? This is a little side note, don't worry about it. I didn't charge you for that free of charge. All right, so, but I tried to hold on to her and the other things I was doing. So, long story short, when I was out there just doing my thing, living a life that led into a spiral of destruction, I was into drugs, real strong. And there were 2 particular states that had guys come down from who were bringing large quantities of dope, of drugs in this area. And of course, I got in the beef with one group of these people. Because, when you're trying to find your way, when you're trying to be led and never have an example of what a leader is, you can go down the wrong path.
That's right.
And so I really began to do with these guys, and I felt the edification of leading people, but it was in the wrong direction. Make a long story short, one group of guys got in an argument with me, and the other group of guys that I was pretty much leading along the way heard about it, and they went to this person's house and shot the house up. Thank God that the way that those apartments were built. You walk in the front door, they have stairs, so they must have been upstairs when it happened. But it happened, and so my dear wife, who was just my girlfriend back in those days, we was somewhere in the hotel room, and they all came to the hotel and knocked on the door. Hey, so and so, we handled that thing for you. And I didn't know what they were referring to until they told me. And I was like, wow. And so, Sister Kathy, that's all she needed to see, of course. And when she saw that they came, they had Uzis, they had 9mm, and she was sitting there and she was praying, Lord, get me out of this here. Get me out of this, and I will leave this maniac alone. And so what happened was she really, because she came from a home that was already, church oriented. And of course, and she got away from me. She did. She just got away, left me in the street. And I share with you something I want to call the animal stage, when you lose everything that you think that's just dear to you, and you start really. I was, of course, selling drugs, and I started getting have my own supply. I started losing things, and folks who understood the drug game, they were like, well, don't give him no package to sell, because if you do, he gonna snip it up and take your money. And so I was always at war with others and with myself, because of the whole of not having a father in my life. And I think that this story needs to be heard, because a lot of men are bleeding.
That's right.
And they're bleeding trying to lead families. They're bleeding trying to date women. They're bleeding trying to lead organizations. And although they are behind the facade of professionalism, their hurt is still there, and it comes out at certain times. And they're bleeding. And so, as I said yesterday, I've been preserved just for this.
That's right.
To be a voice for the fatherless, to be a voice for those who that's been rejected. Because rejection is a terrible thing.
It is. And you know what, being that you mentioned that, you told me that, and we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but you told me at 38.
Yes.
Something hit.
Yes. And so, of course, I'm the 38 fast forward. I give my heart to Christ, and back in '89, going into 1990, and God got me on the fast track. You know what I mean? I was in church as a little guy. I think I was the only person in church in my house. I got away from the things of God. Just went out there doing my thing. Make a long story short, I began to go on a journey of in church and everything. But at the age of 38, I really started the question really began to become a gnawing thing inside of me. Like, really, what happened? So I asked that question in the street, and it destroyed me. But what do you do when you're delivered and set free, and the question is still there? Well, what do you do when you have all the things that you need? You have church, you have a family, you're saved, you know what I mean? You have all the kingdom apparatus that you need, but you still have the question. And because I was saved, and still the hole was still there. And so I asked this as a question, so my natural father came down to visit his brother and my uncle. And so
Hey y'all, it's Romania here. I'm sorry to pull you away from that broadcast. I just want to bring you up to date on what's going on in the ministry. Guys, every Monday at 7 p.m., BBM International airs a broadcast on Kingdom Purpose TV. You don't want to miss that broadcast. Again, that's every Monday at 7 p.m. Then on Thursdays, guys, we're on the Now Network. BBM International, showing up for God's people, okay? Then on Fridays, guys, we're back back on Kingdom Purpose TV every Friday at 7 p.m. with the Bountifully Blessed Marriage. I'm telling you, that's a show you don't want to miss. You've got to hear all of what's going on in their marriage and how they use that to encourage and uplift other young couples, okay? So you want to make sure that you get in there and watch that show. Then on Sundays, guys, My Story for His Glory, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Don't miss it, guys. Be there. And if you want to have your broadcast, whether it's your ministry, whether it's your business, to be on Kingdom Purpose TV, get in contact with Bishop Vernon T. Matthews. The number is 1-888-276-4425. Again, 1-888-276-4425. And guys, if you need someone to help you with your video editing or videography, guys, we have that taken care of too. There's Papers Etc. And that number is 757-339-0372. 757-339-0372. Papers Etc. It's not just paper anymore. Now back to the broadcast.
My natural father came down to visit his brother and my brother and my uncle, and so he said, "Well, your father over here. Why don't you come and and see how you doing?" And my sons are big by now. Okay, so it was quite an experience. Because they walked in, so when we walked into the house, he was like, "Okay, what's going to happen?" I said, "Man, ain't nothing going to happen with you. You just have to see, Because at that point, I already forgave him. But the thing that's funny is this. The Lord said to me, I trusted him to carry you as a seed.
That's right.
But I couldn't trust him to raise you.
That's right.
Because we are totally different. And had he raised me, I'd have been back to the thing about the whole fantasy thing. If he'd raised me, I'd have inquired some things that wasn't good for me. And so it's funny. We were talking in his little room at my uncle's house, and I went to the restroom and came back. While I was in the restroom, he solicited my sons to go to the club with him. And he didn't know my son. My sons, they believe like I believe. They wanted to. They wanted to show him some tangible love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. And so he left and everything, and hadn't heard from him again. And just recently, of course, something happened. But he wouldn't come down again because he didn't want to face me. But one thing about it I want to share real quick is this. Forgiveness is the road to your deliverance.
Right. It is.
You have to forgive. Because what God did for me was something totally opposite. So thank God he didn't raise me. But that doesn't stop the question.
That's right.
Nor does that stop the enemy from forming a yoke around your neck and accusing you. It's like the victim of a rape or the victim of some type of trauma. The enemy will use condemnation against them to yoke them up. So the young lady may feel, well, maybe it was my fault, or maybe I did something wrong.
Right.
Whoever the victim is, and so for a long time I said, maybe something was wrong with me, But God delivered me from that. And so fast forward, God blessed me, brought my wife and I back together again. So and so this past Father's Day, the Lord said, "This is what I want you to preach." When fathers drop sons.
You know what? And I listened to that sermon and I was just so blessed by it, y'all, because, I'm a woman, but I can share some of that hurt. And so, this is my pastor, Brian Johnson, and I want him to speak to that because he kind of has a similar background. He was also a fatherless son. Tell them a little bit about that pain, that knowing, that not knowing, that question, that just doesn't go away. Tell them a little bit about that, Pastor Brian.
Sure. Well, just like Bishop has spoken on already, our stories are eerily similar.
Right.
I was about 9 years old, and I'm not quite sure. I can't remember what led to it. I don't know if I was questioning my mom and asking, where's my dad, or I don't know what led to it, but somehow it came up where she has arranged for me to meet my father. I remember it clearly, like it was like just yesterday. In St. Louis, Missouri, restaurant on a street called Natural Bridge. A restaurant called Red Barn. Like I said, I remember it vividly. Just like it took place on yesterday. Arranged to meet with him. Explained to me along the way as we were en route. This is my biological father, and I'm going to meet. And I'm like, okay, I'm 9 years old. That's I'm excited about that. And so we meet and we have lunch or whatever it was at the time. I think it was lunch and ate and I guess they talked more. I don't really even remember talking to him much at all. But all I do remember is him meeting me and me meeting him. And then from that point forward, I clearly remember us leaving the restaurant and never seeing them again. Never seeing them again. And at the age of 9, it really didn't resonate with me at that point, I don't think. I wasn't quite old enough to understand the ramifications of what had transpired. But as I got older, my late teens and early 20s, then sometimes it would play on my mind. Well, why, did he agree to meet with me?
Yeah.
What made you agree to meet with me, and then just walk away out of my life forever? So I started believing, felt like, well, I would have been better off personally.
Right.
I feel like I would have been better off if he just never had met me.
Right.
Just let me alone.
Right.
Never come into my life and meet me. Versus meet me one time and walk away. And as I got older, I realized that he had another family. Talking to my mom, and I'm thinking, well, okay, I got brothers, I got sisters. Somewhere that he's probably being a father too.
Right.
Like Bishop said, what's wrong with me?
That's right.
Why not me? Why not I receive, that? And
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And that's what and whenever I think about my pastor, I think about him and his strength in this life.
Yes.
He is a phenomenal man of God.
Yes.
And he ain't afraid to show love. He ain't afraid to hug. He's not afraid to be who he is, human, because it hurts. It hurts, and I just want people to see this pain is real.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's real, and when we're fathering children, we need to realize that it's a life
Right.
that's at stake.
Absolutely.
And you may be
Absolutely.
afraid, you may not understand, you may not feel like you're adequate,
Yes.
but we need you.
That's right.
We need you to fulfill that role. It's
That's
so
good.
important.
That's good.
And
Yes,
that
it is.
thing carries over.
Yes, it does.
It carries over.
That's right.
But the reason that these men are up here today, that despite what happened, despite that hole, they were able to overcome.
Yes.
And they are mighty, mighty, mighty men of God.
Yes.
And phenomenal fathers. Not just to their natural born, but to so many people. So many people. And so, and at this point, we're going to get ready to take a break. We're going to have a commercial break. And when we come back, I want you guys to just hear a little bit about what they're doing now. And then also, I want you to pick up, too, because I think I kind of fast-forwarded you a little bit.
Okay.
Too much.
Okay.
But I want you to tell them what was the turning point in your life.
Yes.
Because you were on a downward spiral. And I know that you said that when Kathy Matthews, then Pastor Kathy now,
Yes.
when she left, that thing hit you.
Yes.
And you spiraled down. And it's something that God did. And I want you to tell the people
Sure
about that
thing.
when we come
Sure
back.
thing.
But before we go to this break, I want to give you a couple more stats, guys, because I want you to understand the relevance of tonight and how important it is that we reach these youth out here and that we reach these grown men because they're still hurting. Still hurting, okay? Now, here are some more stats. 70% of state-operated institutions, fatherless homes, that's where they come from, y'all. 85% of youth in prison come out of fatherless homes. 68% are more likely to smoke, drink, or do drugs, okay, from fatherless homes. And when we talk about fatherless homes, one thing that I did read on is that your relationship with your father. It could be that the father was in the home, but there was no emotional support. You know, the relationship was suffering.
That's true.
Okay, and it impacts those children just as much. Okay, and then it says that in single mother households, that these children are 30% at a higher risk for these types of things. Okay, so again, we're gonna take our break and then. I want you to come back and pick up that downward spiral when Miss Matthews
Gotcha. Yeah, she did.
bolted.
With the quickness, somebody had. So after the back to that scene, after she left, that scene was enough for her. And so I don't blame her looking back on it. Didn't have a job, you know, folks would give me no drugs to sell. So it was just a bad situation. I started trying to rob junkies. That's how bad it got. Shooting at people. I recall a couple of times. Now, when a man becomes whole, he is a weapon against the enemy.
Even though I got emotional on that statement, what Bishop said was so powerful as well, I had to learn to forgive my father.
Yes.
I did forgive him. Because at one point in my life, and my wife would tell you, she don't like me to say it, but I heard somebody say that if I walk down the street and saw my father burning on fire, I would not have urinated on it.
That's right.
I would not have urinated on it to put the fire out.
Right.
I would have stepped right over and kept going. You know, but I realized, and this was after salvation. I was already saved and I still felt this way. So like Bishop said, the hole was still there.
That's right.
But I realized that I had to forgive.